used to try to show their resumes and say, I did this, I did that. But what impact did you make?
Right.
Like, I was impact over popularity any day. You feel me? And that was one of my biggest things. Like, how can I impact one person and impact the next? And that's what was my grind and my drive. Is how can I impact at least one person?
Welcome to another episode number 5, BTL Podcast. Special guest, my brother,
What's up, bro?
Kimani Robinson. First and foremost, appreciate y'all for tuning in. But first thing we're gonna talk about, man, is just really, let my bro introduce himself. So Kimani, appreciate you for coming on the show. I know you got a very hectic schedule. You got a lot of things going on, which you're gonna dive into, but just real quick, go ahead and introduce yourself to the family, how they can stay connected, all that good stuff, man.
Let's do it. So, what's going on, everybody? I'm Kimani Robinson. It's crazy because when I do my introductions nowadays, I think about my job. So I work at an organization called Thurgood Marshall College Fund, but on my day-to-day and my passion work is really toward my brand and my podcast. So my podcast is labeled Billionaire Lessons, which is the wealth of information and knowledge and how you take it to really conquer the world. And then next is Billionaire Academy, which is an umbrella under the brand, which is really the lifestyle brand, the clothing, the merchandise. And I started that back up in 2020 during COVID. And the podcast was started up in 2018, which is crazy to hear that now. And the aesthetics actually in here, in this space is dope, bro.
It's
you
crazy.
Hear that, right?
It's super fire. It's like the lighting, the perfect scenery. I think it's perfect. So, more importantly, I think before we get into any detail about, your career, your passion, and what's going on currently, I definitely want the family to be able to kind of get to know who Kimani is. You know what I mean? Because, I know Kimani, right? Kimani is my fraternity brother. We both from New York. We both play sports, so we have a lot in common, and I know a lot about you personally, but I want the people to be able to kind of relate and really understand, where you come from. So before we get into anything, just talk to the people about, where you from, your upbringing and how was your childhood and all of that important stuff. Because you're from New York, we know what that's like. Brooklyn, more importantly, shout out to Fort Hamilton and all of them. So just talk to the family about, your upbringing and your childhood and how you grew up.
For sure. So born and raised Brooklyn, New York. My childhood it had ups and downs, right? So raised by a single mom who raised my brother, my sister, and myself on her own. And I know sometimes we hear that's the typical story within the Black community, but my mom raised me being a breast cancer survivor. She was diagnosed with breast cancer when I was 4 years old. So unknowingly, I didn't know potentially I could have been losing my mom at that young of an age. I remember her losing her hair. I remember her wearing wigs. I remember her, just going through chemotherapy and everything else. And I remember just getting out of school and have to go straight to the hospital to see my mom, going through those moments, right? But thank God, now I believe this August is gonna make 24 years that she's been a breast cancer survivor.
That's dope.
Facts, bro.
Congrats to mom.
So that's my story relates a lot around to my mom and her being a survivor, a warrior, and being the person that made me into the man I am today. I have a brother as well who was paralyzed from the torso down, actually, who was shot when he was 19 years old in Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of things I do is real intentional because of the people that matter most important to me who are survivors. My brother survived being shot 7 times. My mom survived being a breast cancer survivor. Crazy enough, November 2013, actually, right after, like a couple months later after I crossed, my sister was diagnosed with breast cancer. Thank God she's also a breast cancer survivor. You feel me? So a lot of my passion work and everything that I do, man, is around my family, around my sister, my brother, my mom, and being able to really pour into people that have a similar story. You feel me? That walk a similar life. And what I do through education, because I worked at colleges, and then, my work in the frat and everything else, man, is just being able to pour back into people.
Right.
You feel me? And help them understand that they're not alone in their struggle. They're not alone in their grind. And you have the choice, right? And I realized that, like my brother used to tell me all the time, is, man, if I wish I made better choices. And he really pushed that into me to make those better choices. So I was really intentional when I was in school to do what I have to do, bro, regardless of my background, regardless of my circumstances, a situation to be something better and to achieve what you want to achieve and whatever you put your mind to. So yeah, that's a little bit of my background and who I really do it for.
That's amazing. And just kind of hearing that, I think that's dope because a lot of people, you know, in today's day and age, you know, they kind of have a similar story. And for most of them, they don't really know how to, you know, cope with things like that. So I know for you, you know, knowing you a go-getter, you know, you was inspired by, you know, those stipulations. So for you, you know, at that age especially, you know, knowing all of those things that's going on with your family, how is it, I don't want to say easy, but what did you do? Like, what were some habits or what were some things that you were able to do to kind of cope with that? Because I know that could be very traumatic for some. You know, a lot of people, on the other hand, could get discouraged, could say, you know, use that to their disadvantage. Oh, I got this going on, and get dismotivated. But for you, you kind of looked at it and said, this is actually why I want to go hard. You know what I mean? I kind of want to use this to my advantage. So what were some of the things you did at that point in time to really, you know, pick things up? Because I know you say you was good at school, you know, you stayed motivated. So what were some of the things you did on the day-to-day to really kind of keep your mind off of that trauma that was really going on, you know, at home?
I would say I didn't even try to take my mind off of it, bro. I really embraced it. Like, a lot of my family, so I'm the youngest of my siblings, I'm the youngest cousins, like in my first cousins, I'm the youngest, I'm the baby, right? So a lot of people expected me and wanted me to be better, right? To don't go through situations and circumstances like the people that came before me. And I embraced it. It was a hard load to carry, but heavy is the head that wears the crown. Like, absolutely. I wore it. And what my mom went through, she gave me the real, she gave me the inside scoop of what it is to be a person going through breast cancer. My brother still to this day talks about how he really has a lot of regret in regards to the choices and things that he made in life. And from when I was little, he just always told me, I want you to be better than me. My dad still to this day, he said, yo, I want you to be better than me. So instead of having to try to take away the trauma out of my life, and I embraced it. When I was little, you know, I was in therapy. I think I started therapy around 11 to 12 years old. I was in therapy for 3 years, and I learned how to be a more emotional and intelligent and be aware of how I feel or if I'm going through a traumatic situation, because I used to have bad dreams, bro. I used to be upset. I used to be like act out in school, like all these different things. So I got professional help. And then still to this day, bro, I really preach and really say within the Black community, it's important to get professional help, to invest in your mental wellness, because a lot of times we're raised off of survival, and we're raised off on like, yo, get over it, it'll be okay, blah, blah, blah. Nah, man, a lot of times it's not okay. Right. Like a lot of times you're still trying to figure out how to navigate through these emotions and feelings. So get that help. So my therapy is talking about it. My therapy is getting that help. My therapy is embracing what I've been through to tell my story to help the next person and the next person. For real, for real.
I love it. I love it. And I love that you mentioned that, because that was going to be my next leading point. And it's really, you know, the therapy. You know what I mean? Because, you know, you said you got that at a young age. And I think, you know, I think it's safe to say, you know, for men now, it's like a lot of us, we were just taught to really kind of hold things in and obviously just kind of be the aggressor and just not really express ourselves. But you kind of mentioning going to therapy and really being able to express your feelings, I think that a lot of more people really needed to hear that, because, you know, for me personally, I'm an individual who recommends therapy, right? Because there's been moments where I have grievances that I have yet to get over, because I just kind of, again, have that factor of just kind of keeping it in. So you kind of mentioned that therapy. How did that kind of help you from being an 11-year-old, 12-year-old to like being, you know, the man that you are now, you know, having been through everything that you've been through and kind of starting therapy at such a young age? You know, how has that really changed who you were today? Because let's just to say you weren't in therapy or you didn't have that experience of going to therapy, right? Do you feel like things would have been different? So what kind of like, how was the matriculation from 11-year-old to, you know, the man that you are today?
Because I'm tired of just how life is going right now, or like, again, I'm having some instances that's happening, but therapy brought me back to be like, okay, the reason that you're reacting a certain way is because this occurred. And and then also being able to empathize and give grace to other people, because when people yell at me or people are upset, I realize that I'm not the issue, is they're battling with something themselves. So I think therapy also not just help me, but help me help others, right? To empathize with them, to talk through certain situations. And they'll say to me like, oh, well, stop trying to be my therapist. Nah, I'm just trying to care about you. Like, and understanding that you need some help, you need some assistance, you might need to just talk to somebody, and I could be a sounding board in the ear for to just listen with no judgment. And so I got my bachelor's in psychology because of that focus of being able to listen, love, hear people out with no judgment at all. And as I matriculated through my years, it was able to really give that support to people. And then when I had my times when I'm not feeling the best, be able to pour and give that to myself. And I'm still working through that process, right? So when I was in Ohio, I had a therapist as well. COVID hit, and a certain restrictions happened around seeing my therapist in person. But because a lot of the work I did, I was able to really like give a lot of help and support for myself mentally, taking time to like be more mindful, pour into like different wellness exercises, learning how to create an emotional boundary for myself, because a lot of times we take in so much, bro. We take in so much from the world on like what we watch, what we eat, what we see, what we do, who we surround ourselves around. And I started just cutting all of that off so I could pay more attention to my mental well-being. And then I give that advice to others, man. Like, if when life is hitting you hard, stop trying to take in so much. Right. Take a step back, listen to some damn gospel music, listen to listen to a podcast. Just tune in and focus on your own emotions so that you're not taking in everybody else's.
I love it. Nah, that's great advice right there. And let's kind of backtrack a little bit, because I know you mentioned a lot about, your majors and a lot of the things that you kind of cater towards, based on your experiences, as a youth. So let's kind of go back to, obviously you growing up in New York. So at that point, let's kind of dive into, your high school years, because you was also an athlete, right? Before you got into psychology, before you got into, the whole mental health and all of these other things that you got going on that we're going to dive into, what was the first love for Kimani? You know what I mean? Having went through everything you went through with your family, what was that first passion that said, you know what, this is really what I want to do? What was that for you?
Yo, my first passion, real talk, bro, was just helping people. Like, when I was younger, I had to be 4th or 5th grade, and people would ask you, like, yo, what you want to do when you get older? I had a passion for like sports, like, yo, I want to be a football player, like I want to be in the NFL or something like that. But because I seen how much people needed help, I wanted to be a person to really help them and make a difference in people's lives, bro. That was the first thing for me. I used to see kids in school that had suicidal thoughts. I used to see kids in school that didn't have a lot of family and support around them. I remember kids getting teased about the clothes that they wear, shoes on their feet, and realizing, yo, this kid right there is only being raised by their grandmother because they lost both their mom and their dad, and they don't have anybody but that one person, and that grandma is trying to figure out a way to pay for their clothes and everything else. Like, people's lives aren't easy, bro. And I remember how cruel individuals were. So I think my first passion and first love was always to help people and be that person when I see somebody picked on to say something, to see somebody being teased, to be like, nah, come on, you're gonna be my friend. You know what I'm saying? To when somebody's sitting alone at lunch, sitting down with them. That was my first love and still is my love, for real, for real.
I love that, because you saying that, it kind of make me think about when I was, I remember me growing up. Like, for me personally, I have a deaf mom and a hearing impaired dad. He's hard of hearing. So I remember me when I was in middle school and high school and elementary, you get to see the other kids with their moms and dads and have those regular conversations and, having so much fun. But for me, when you're young, you want to be like everybody else, because you don't really have that mind of, this is me, this is my thing, or that perseverance, I shall say. So you kind of mentioning that, I want to be able to be that person for you. I know that's important for people to hear, because I remember, like, for me, it was hard, kind of having, those stipulations, and, you having your stipulations. It's very easy for us to make those excuses. But again, you was able to use that for your, to your advantage, as opposed to saying, you know what, let me take that and kind of make excuses for myself and feel sorry. How about I kind of use this and kind of motivate somebody else and let them know that they could do it? You know what I mean? So I definitely shout out you for that. And this kind of leads me to my next thing, and really more so now, having said, what your main purpose is in helping people, I want to dive into really quickly, you know, your athletic, you know, career. You know what I mean? Because what you mentioned in terms of helping people, that's kind of what you do now in your career and your work. But I want the people to really hear a lot about how you kind of got into that, right? So let's talk about the athletic Kimani, right? You played at Fort Hamilton High School, right? You know, y'all won a championship. You know, I played for, you know, Grand Street campus. They were rivals, believe it. I think they were. I don't think it was the same year you was there, but they played each other a couple times. Let's talk about football. You know, let's talk about sports. You know, how has that played a role for you in your life? You know, was that kind of an outlet for you? Was that a way to keep you out of trouble? You know, what kind of got you to gear toward sports?
Yeah, so my first love sports-wise was basketball. A lot of my older cousins played ball, and it was good. It was fun. It was great. But I think basketball is more of like a social sport for me. For a competitive sport and a sport that I could use to really develop was football. And actually, I joined football when I was in therapy because I had anger. I had things that I was just like trying to figure it out, how to use my size, how to use my abilities, how to like not beat niggas up. Like, so I really wanted to play football, and it was suggested like, yo, why don't y'all, I had people tell my mom, why don't y'all put him in football? So I started playing football and going 6th to 7th grade, 8th grade as well for Kings Bay, and Sheepshead, Brooklyn. And for me, man, like I loved it, but I think I really got the love for it when I played for Fort Hamilton because before I got in my school, you know, Fort Hamilton, we were the premier program in Brooklyn. Everybody was wanting to go to Fort. Like Fort was like the Alabama of football at first. Like all of the top athletes was going to Fort. We won 05, we won 06. Like we won back-to-back championships. I think we had like maybe 4 or 5 rings in like a 10-year span or probably more before I even got into my school. And just seeing how the athletic program ran, the football program ran, and then like all of my guys, like we became brothers, man. Like my first year at Fort, though, I hated it because you know, playing JV, and then at Fort, like there's no respect. Like honestly, when you play JV, it's not that much respect for it. Like it's varsity. Like you want to get to that point. So that was my goal. And then for me too, like I was trying to figure out positions wise because I was like tall and lengthy by my freshman year, sophomore year of high school, and then still was like battling between weight. So I was like a tight end size, but we didn't have tight ends, you know what I'm saying? So I played like every position on the line. I played every position almost on defense, but I played mostly defense. And it was so difficult because I was trying to get on the field. I was trying to figure it out. But when I started coming into my own, I was a smart person, so I learned the playbook. I wanted to know every position on the field. I know what the quarterback had to do, running back had to do. Like legit, I studied the game, bro. And that's where really my love and passion came. And then my brothers, for real. So I played all throughout high school. Senior year, won a championship, went on to Del State, played football for a little while as well. And then I think the skills and things I learned from football, man, as being a part of something bigger than yourself. Right. And that's what also kind of got me into like the atmosphere around, you know, the frat, because you're a part of something bigger than yourself, bro. And knowing what you do, it doesn't just affect you, it affects the team. If I miss an assignment, you know what I'm saying, on the field, somebody can go on and score a touchdown. You know what I'm saying? If I miss an assignment, it could go on to somebody getting blocked or somebody getting hurt, like all these other things. So I've learned like everything that you do, it comes with repercussions. It comes with, you know, like it can affect all 10 other people out on this field with me, man. So, and it taught me a lot about humility, who I am, my abilities, and then just to work harder. Like football is a sport that you can't slack, bro. Like you can't slack. In order to get on the field, you have to be talented. Like basketball, you could be tall as hell, know how to get a rebound and make it on the court. Football, you have to be tough. You have to be an athlete. You have to learn the playbook. You have to work harder than the next man to get on the field. And that's how I learned all of those skill sets.
I love it, bro. And so what, you know, you speaking about, because I also play high school football, and I know that, you know, that fraternity or brotherhood, you know, within college, you know, not college sports, but high school sports, right? Just kind of getting that experience. So what would you say, you know, from brotherhood to, you know, just the humility to, you know, just the little things that you learn when it comes to, you know, disciplinary actions, when the coaches make you do crazy things because of whatever the case may be. Yeah, all that BS. What do you think is the biggest takeaway, or better yet, what is the one life lesson that playing the sport of football has truly taught you? You know what I mean?
It's crazy. I never was asked that question before. Biggest life lesson that I probably took away from football. Is I think you just gotta move without fear. For real, because you can't be, when you step between those lines, bro, you cannot be afraid of anything, because your ass gonna get hurt, laid out against somebody gonna score. Like, and that's one of the biggest things, like, not gonna lie, I never had any major injury in sports. But it was times and moments that I was a bit afraid, you know what I'm saying? What if I get trucked? Because you know that's embarrassing.
Yeah,
you know
it's like nobody want that.
Yeah, what if, whatever. And it took me a while, bro. It took me a while to get my genuine confidence. Like, I was always a year 2 guy. My first year was always rough. Rough as hell. But my year 2, I was always like step ahead of the game. So I realized that, bro, you can't be afraid. You got to just take it for what it is. Have short-term memory. You know what I mean? If you mess up, get it right on the next one. Like, it's gonna be all good.
Right. And I think, having said that, you know, just kind of, you know, saying what you said, I think that right there kind of speaks volumes and translates into your collegiate career now. You know, you mentioned going to Del State. You know, we're both graduates of Delaware State. I haven't played college football, but you did play Delaware State college football for your first couple of years, you know, in college. So now, you know, let's kind of tap into our athletic side real quick. Like, what was the transition like? You know, because you go from high school sports to being the dude, you know, like you go from high school sports to really being that guy and having got taught those lessons. But now when you get to college, it's like, man, I gotta earn my stripes all over again. Right? So did that kind of, you know, we're prideful. You know, men are prideful sometimes. You know, we have that factor in us. So like, what was that transition like for you from going to Fort Ham and saying, you know what, I kind of got my things here, but now I'm going to Del State. How did you kind of earn your rep there, and what did it take for you to really make your mark playing collegiate football?
You know what, taking it back a little bit, what I always wish, man, is I took football serious, but I wish I took my work ethic more serious. So in Fort, because we came into a factory, and we had natural talent, speed, size, coaching staff, like, we had it, right? We worked hard, trust and believe, but we worked hard as a team. I think I wish I would have worked hard more as an individual, because when I came into school, right, when I came to Del State, I didn't have my other guys along with me, because in school, honestly, I was as good as the people around me. Like, I had my guys I can lean on, you feel me? I had the chemistry with the guys to the left and right of me, so that also made me even better. I didn't know none of the guys I played with in college, so I came in like, oh snap, I don't got my bro Kevon that I was always, you know, was next to me on the line. I don't have my bro Sha behind me, you know what I'm saying? I don't have knowing, like, my boy Bam that played for Syracuse, he played safety, so I knew anybody get past me, God forbid, I know Bam got my back, you know what I'm saying? So like, little things like that. I didn't have that in college, so it was a lot of shift for me, because I had to work on myself as an individual athlete. In the weight room, don't worry about what the next man is doing. You gotta get it in. You gotta put in extra time. You gotta put in extra hours. And at high school is way different, because the hours you put in was only really surrounded around you playing. Think about in the off season, you know, you had your weight training program, you ran, whatever. In college football, bro, you gotta put in extra hours. You gotta wake up when somebody else is putting up 250 easy reps on bench, you like, nah, I gotta figure out a way to rep 275. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta put in that extra time. You gotta do the extra go the extra mile, bro. And I think that was definitely the biggest hardest transition for me, is training and going hard as an individual to be better. But year 2, that's when I got way better at it. That's when I was taking times and being around the older guys, like, man, like, can I, when y'all go into the weight room, you know, doing extra reps, like, can I come with y'all? Like, yo, if you stay in here in the summer, can I stay here with y'all in the summer? You know, but like whatever it took. And year 2, I definitely made a bigger leap, because I did more of what it took, bro. And I wish, again, I knew that a little bit earlier.
I love it. And I think that's what I love about the game of football, man, because it's like it teaches you so much, because you talk about, you know, just having the individuality of it. You know what I mean? Like having to do work for you, because it's so much of a team game. Of course, like I feel as though you need all 11 members on the field, but at the same time, you still have an individual assignment to be the best at what you do. You know what I'm saying? Regardless, because at the end of the day, football is a sport of mano a mano. So I think that translated very well to life as well, especially for me, because I know me being an athlete, it's like, okay, well, I want to be the best at what I do, but I also got to make sure that what I'm taking from this competitive nature on the field, I want to kind of apply that to my life. And we're going to kind of talk about, you know, how that transition from Del State football kind of got you into, you know, now that I play football, you probably got to a point where, you know, football, obviously, I don't know if did you think you was going to go to the NFL? How did you feel about that? Like, was that crazy. A dream of yours?
When I got to college, I think I figured I wasn't gonna go to the NFL, and then the reason I say that is because when I learned about combine training, I said, shoot, as a outside linebacker, your stats has to be this. And because the first outside linebacker I really paid attention to in the NFL was probably like Clay Matthews, and
he was hot in his prime, boy,
and Von Miller, and those were the twos that came out like when I was in college. And I'm like, boom, I gotta at least run a 4.5. Like legit, as an outside linebacker now, like in the NFL, bro, they not taking nobody like as a linebacker 4.7.
Yeah,
barely. Like you need to run a 4.5, maybe sub 4.6. You have to rep bench press 23 times minimum.
Right.
You gotta have 11 foot or whatever broad jump. You gotta have a 42-inch vertical, right? And I'm like, cause that's what it's all about. What separates people getting into the league, back in the day, it was film. Mm-hmm. You could have a decent combine or you could have a decent pro day, but your film spoke numbers. Now, because people are beasts, bro, your numbers gotta speak.
Right.
And cause after my freshman year, we did like during the summer training. And shout out to our athletic trainer at that time. Like he had us do like combine training. And I said, my numbers ain't looking, and probably, as years would have went on, it probably would have got better, but I said, my numbers ain't looking nothing close to this. So I just, I just was really for the game, and it wasn't really about the NFL no more.
Right. Having said that, it's like, now that you knew that I wasn't going to the NFL, it's not really a passion of mine anymore. I think this is where we get to the point of taking what I've learned from high school football, youth football, and then kind of going into college. How did that kind of prepare you for leadership now? Because, having taken all of those tools and then being in college, it's like you became a student leader. You was you're vice president of Student Government Association of Delaware State University. So how did you go from, athlete to student leadership and using what you have learned to kind of impact thousands of collegiate students?
Yeah, so shout out to my boy Isaiah McCoy, because when I was playing football, I was around student government often because my boy Zay, he was vice president, and guy from Brooklyn, literally lived a block away in Canarsie, and I said, man, if he could do this, I can. And I learned that you can't, like I told you earlier, you can't pigeonhole yourself and just be somebody just doing one thing. Like I wanted to be somebody really being active and successful outside of the game. And you can see like LeBron and a couple other athletes that are doing that now, like more than just an athlete, more than just that person behind the brand. Like I wanted to be more. So, when I pledged Kappa my sophomore year, I think I started getting exposed to like the lineage of past leaders and what achievement really looks like. And then I ran for RHA president my junior year, won, and I started hosting programs, and I started seeing how like my voice really makes a difference.
Yep.
You feel me? And I felt, as a competitor, to be honest with you, bro, like it felt amazing being able to make an impact on people just with my voice.
Bro.
And it wasn't about how fast I ran. It wasn't about how hard I hit. It was about like, damn, I could just use my voice to make a difference. Oh man. So then that's what made me run for student government vice president, because I could lead people with my voice. I could lead people with just my ideas. And again, they could see me as how genuine I am, how much I had a passion and love for what I do. So like my junior year is when I went for RHA president. And like I said earlier, bro, is when I really realized like your voice, you know, you really standing up for the student population, like that made all of the difference. And I don't know, man, it was just a whole different connection, a whole different vibe compared to like playing a sport, right? Where you're people cheering you on, and you got fans, and you're doing something to win an achievement. Everything I did, bro, wasn't to win anything. Right. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't to win the students over. It wasn't to get the credit. I just wanted to do something again that was bigger than myself, do something that could like help the next man and the next man, and then really be that representation. Because like when I was at Del State, bro, it wasn't a lot of student leaders that looked like me, sound like me, had the swag like me. Like it wasn't a lot. So my time also, we made student leadership cool. We made student leadership really be the vibe, bro. Like next to an athlete or next to a frat, it was like, yo, you being a student leader, like that's where it's at. So I really wanted to show a whole different side of what leadership looks like, bro. And then again, use the aspects that I learned with playing my sport, with pledging my frat, and taking that to another level with doing RHA president, and then going on to be Del State's vice president, which was probably one of the best honors ever. Like when I won, bro, like I wish, I think I might have the video somewhere, bro, when Blake Saunders announced the winner, and he was like, and the winner is the family, and the crowd went crazy.
That's tough.
Bro, when the crowd went crazy like that, I said, oh nah, like tough. This shit is next level. And that was probably one of, between my probate and winning SGA, I think that was probably one of the biggest moments in my college career.
That's amazing, bro. That's amazing. Sure. And I like that. I definitely know what that feel like too. You know, having had, you know, followed the footsteps of being in student leadership, and you know, knowing what that feel like when the people is just supporting you, bro. Like when they just really support you and your vision for the entire university. But now this kind of ties me into, you know, the next thing of, you know, you obviously being student, you know, a student leader and all of that. How do you kind of find that confidence, you know what I'm saying, of athlete, student leader, you know, having to fulfill, you know, certain roles and things that you obviously want to give out to the family? How did you find the confidence to really just exude it, you know what I mean? To really just kind of display it on a day-to-day basis, you know, because it's one thing to kind of have to show up every day and perform, but at some point it's like we got to pour into ourselves as well, you know what I mean? And there's going to be some moments that may not always be positive. We're human, you know, that's natural. So how did you find the confidence to be able to show up every day for not just you, but for, you know, hundreds of students, you know what I mean? How did you keep that sanity and really just keep that vibe going?
I don't know, man. I would say it was a mix of like repetition, you know what I'm saying? Like every day I got up and I'm like, yo, I'm gonna show up as my best self, you feel me? And then also, bro, all in all, I'm from Brooklyn. Like whenever I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna come with it, I'm gonna be my best, I'm gonna show up as my best, I'm gonna show my whole energy, my swag is gonna be top of the line. And that's really what it was, to keep it 100% simple. Is I just wanted to show up as my best self. And it was tough, but I realized also when I was in student government, it's people that don't want you there. Yep. It is haters, there are naysayers. Yep. And I think I worked even harder because y'all not gonna discredit me. Y'all not gonna take away, like y'all working my ass off to be here. And when we were running for student government, it was people out there like that. I'm like, yo, are you crazy? Do you see, because people used to try to show their, and no knock, but and no shade, but people used to try to show their resumes and say, I did this, I did that. But what impact did you make? Right. Like I was impact over popularity any day. You feel me? And that was one of my biggest things. Like how can I impact impact one person and impact the next. And that's what was my grind and my drive. Is how can I impact at least one person.
Word up. And I think you mentioning that impact over popularity, I think that might go over some people's heads. So I think it's like when it comes to that impact over popularity, people feel like just because they have a certain following or just because they have so much, clout that they've impacted the people that they need to. But in reality, it's really about that one person who really took that one meaningful thing and really take it a mile. So really dive into why that's important, right? So I think people understand the impact of a popularity, but why is that truly important to really get you the furthest, if that makes sense? You know what I mean? And not just chase the clout or that popularity.
Yeah, because remember, impact, bro, that lasts a long, long time. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, right, you might have a teacher from kindergarten or first grade that you'll never forget because that person made an impact on your life. And then you might have someone that was the popular person and they fell off. You see people in music, bro. You see people in sports. You see these the people that chase the popularity, chase the fame, chase the viral moments. They don't last that long, bro. They have their time. They gonna get they probably 1 million views on one video, but the impact is the ones that last forever. Yeah. So when you hear Biggie Smalls' Juicy, that song has an impact. You know what I'm saying? When you hear
Biggie Smalls Juicy
through the bro, Kanye West Through the Wire, impact. You know what I'm saying? When you hear Encore Jay-Z, has impact. There are a few songs that was popular for a moment, for a time, but I'm really big on impact. The impact is the long game. Impact is where you're able to live, you outlive so many different things because of the impact you made on people's lives, bro. The words that you said, how you just even picked up the phone and called and even checked up on somebody like that. People don't forget those moments, bro. So that was my biggest thing. I didn't really care about the popularity. I didn't care about I'm trying to be the littest. I don't care about none of that, bro. I know at the end of the day, nobody can never say, come out here and make an impact.
Let's kind of talk about how, obviously, you spoke about the high school and the college and the influence and the impact and the, really impacting more than popularity. So how did that kind of translate into, where you are today in terms of now entrepreneurship, right? You go from Kimani, the athlete, you go from Kimani, the student leader on a college campus, but where did that eagerness come from for entrepreneurship now? Billionaire Lessons, Billionaire Academy, Billionaire Lifestyle. That's your Instagram handle, right? Billionaire Lifestyle. So what does that really mean to you? Because I know it's not just billionaire in terms of financial. That's cool, but I know for billionaire, it's a lot more detail. So what does that really mean to you personally, the Billionaire Lifestyle?
Bro, it's so crazy because when I created the brand, when I went by Billionaire Lifestyle, I started that in college. I think that was my Instagram handle since maybe my sophomore, junior year. Yeah. And it was it's Billionaire Lifestyle was your whole swag, your walk, how you live, literally how you live your life. It was not about even just being lavish or having the cars, the women, the vacations. It was literally just how your entire walk, your entire aura. You know what I'm saying? Because with a lot of billionaires, I bet a lot of people can't name 10 billionaires. A lot of billionaires are quiet. A lot of billionaires move their money around and invest. A lot of billionaires take care of, just quiet moves, but their money's gonna move loud. So that was for me. It's I really just wanted to be a person that I don't announce what I do. I don't have to be out there trying to take a photo, take a video of everything. And that was really the Billionaire Lifestyle, is being an individual that I don't have to necessarily look like I got it, but just believe I got it.
Amazing.
You feel me? And then that shifted to, I recorded a video in my car, like 2017 maybe, and was I don't want to be the person that was just lit in college and you ain't do nothing after, which is a fact for a lot of people. So I was I gotta make sure I'm lit in real life, in everything that I do. And my experiences have been that, man. Getting my master's degree at 23 at Memphis, going on to work at Ohio State after that, and then working at my organization, Thurgood Marshall College Fund, while running a podcast. I'm about to be 50 episodes in.
Amazing.
And then running a business that I'm 2 years in. And like I told you earlier, I just had 400 plus something orders, and like that's a blessing, bro. And I could say I'm lit, but in a good way. I'm lit, and I'm proud to say that because I've gotten through any circumstance, any moment, and I've ended up on top. And it's on top for me. Like, I don't care about the recognition for anybody else. I care about like how I look and how I view myself. That's also what a billionaire is about. That's how I look and feel about myself. When I wake up in the morning, I say, damn, I'm proud of you.
I love it.
When I go to sleep at night, be like, damn, bro, I'm proud of you. That's really where the mindset came from. That's really where the grind is. And again, the information, the knowledge, the business, everything I put out there, so people could feel like that. Like, I want you to feel like a billionaire right here and there, because when you feel like it, when you believe it, you can achieve it. So
I love it, bro.
That's the whole vibe.
I love it, bro. Because you definitely an individual who I definitely look at, for that affirmation of, just continuing to stay persistent. You know what I'm saying? And you kind of mentioned a little bit about your podcast. So, you kind of talking about that. Let us know a little bit about what the podcast is truly about, because I think that's where it started. For you, right? You had the Instagram name, but I think the podcast is what started it for truly your brand and everything. So what was the podcast main purpose? Like, what are you trying to get across, with the podcast? And,
Yeah, because I'm going to get back to like the point of how it started, bro. Like, I literally was just recording videos, putting it on Instagram, and somebody was like, yo, you dropping Billionaire Lessons, like legit. That's how the name came about. And it was just on topics like conquering your fear, again, not being just lit in college and then being an afterthought when you leave, investing, all of that stuff, bro. Like, that was just really the topics of the videos, things that I heard. Like, I listen to podcasts myself. I listen to like a whole bunch of YouTube content. So, and I was just like, damn, that's a point that I want to get across to my peers, and I'll talk about it. Or I just might have a conversation with you right now and put it on Instagram, right? So now I'm like, yo, damn, we have so many experiences that it'll be great for the world to hear, and not just have it on Instagram on just, one platform. Why not do a podcast? So my first episode was my boy Ed, called Pain of Purpose. And it's because we have so many instances in our lives where we lose somebody, or we go through heartache and pain, and we're trying to figure out how to navigate through being hurt, how to navigate by, losing someone, or just things aren't going right. And by how can you turn your pain into your purpose? How can you turn your test to your testimony, your mess into your message? Like, that's always what I push for. So my podcast really came about with telling a story. And me and Ed, joined and did my first episode. And from there, I think, damn, it resonated well. And people were just like, damn, when they go to your show to share my story and share my story and share my story. And it was all billionaires, people that, again, they might not be billionaires from a net worth standpoint, but they're a billionaire when it comes to their mindset, a billionaire because they want to push information out and motivate others. And everybody I've had on my show, man, I listened to my episodes, they all have been wanting to help and make an impact with other people. And that's what I'm intentional about. Is how can we all help somebody? How can we help and shift somebody's mindset to be better, especially in the Black community? So I'm like, yo, if I could give out more and more of these lessons, hopefully I could start shifting our community. And once I shift this damn community, bro, we could take over, because our community is still caught up on negative nonsense that we see on Instagram, or on Black Twitter, or like people was talking about the dang Will Smith smacking Chris Rock for days on end. And they'll talk about that more than a young Black 14-year-old engineer that's currently enrolled at Morehouse University. You know what I'm saying? Like, they'll talk about more of the negative and what the distractions are than the positives and things that we need to be more actively aware. So that's why I really created my podcast and platform, to put more positive out there than the negative that we see on a daily basis.
I love it, man. And I think that's important, man, because, especially when it comes to the media, bro, like the media, it just highlights, and this is what I tell people sometimes, it's just like, you look at the media, or you look at the news channels, and you look at all of these things, they highlight things that are not beneficial to us growing as individuals. So like somebody asked me one time, do I watch the news? And I said no, because the news, I feel as though is meant to kind of have you worried. It never gives you anything positive ever. You know what I'm saying? So I think you kind of mentioning, you know, the influence of the media and why, you know, you just kind of really have this podcast is important. So definitely make sure, you know, y'all tune into the podcast and really catch these episodes. You know, it's going to definitely be pasted below, but this kind of dive into now, you have the podcast, you have, you know, the conversations daily to elevate. Now let's talk about what's on you right now, right? You see the B on his sweater. Yes, you see the nice green, right? You see the Billionaire Academy, you know, clothing and the fashion. Now you started to tap into the fashion industry, right? Now you're doing everything, right? You went from athlete to leadership to podcast. Now it's fashion, right? Let's talk about where did the fashion and how did this come? Billionaire Academy, where did that come from?
Yo, bro, you know what's so crazy? Like, I knew for a fact I wanted to do something with like merchandise, but I knew what it was, and it's crazy. I was just gonna do accessories. Like I was gonna always only do like lapel pins, buttons, like little stuff like that. Like locked in and aligned with my podcast. But I had my boy, shout out to Dio. He's the founder and CEO of Visionary Society. And he's like, yo, bro, like I got an idea for you. And I basically told him the idea that I had, and he's like, nah, bro, I think you could take it another way. Because when you talk about uniform, you talk about brand, you talk about, you know, what I know what your podcast is about. So yeah, Dio had the mock-up for me and everything, bro. And I was like, dang, like I actually think I got something here. And he was like, bro, let me get you a couple of samples. I ordered like 2 samples. It was navy blue and burgundy. And when it came in, like I did a little teaser, and everybody like was really taken to it. I did a photo shoot, and I'm like, yo, damn, like, am I really about to launch my own clothing brand, like some merchandise? And again, it was just really from a teaser. It was just a couple samples. I don't even have merchandise on stock yet, like nothing. And I put it out there, I invested in myself, bro, created a website. I ended up copping like 50 to 75 crew necks, and the first day I launched, it sold out.
Wow,
the first 48 hours. And then I restocked literally, and then I think I added one more colorway, sold out. And I was like, damn, like I actually really enjoy this. And I like that people understand the purpose of the brand, they understand the vision of the brand, they understand, like, because everything that I talked about in my podcast, people really resonated and aligned with what Billionaire Academy represents. And I was like, dang, like I really have something. And it's people, again, really rocking something that they feel like it connects to them personally. So yeah, bro, that's really what the merchandise came from. That's really how I really bought into it. And now again, like year 2, like I love the creative side. Like I had areas kind of taken before that. Like 2019 was a struggle for me mentally, bro. I was going through depression. I was going through anxiety. I was going through a lot. And all I could do is think of how to create something that's going to be like long lasting, and make an impact, right? Kobe Bryant passed away the last week of January in 2020, right before COVID hit. And I was like, yo, I can't sit on my gift. And I was going through so many different things. And I'm like, yo, damn, the world-renowned Hall of Famer, Kobe Bryant, him and Gigi Bryant just passed away. I said, nah, bro, I can't sit on my gift because we really not going to be here forever. Yeah. We never, we don't know, when we're gonna get a chance to do something. So that's when I really went ahead, got the samples. I said, yo, I'm gonna go ahead and do this brand. I really put myself out there. And then, I was hurt when Nipsey passed away. And that's what really had me get the idea for ownership, have the idea to really do something big, bro. And that's why I stopped waiting to create my business, because I really wasn't gonna launch my business right away. I was just like, all right, let me warm up, let me get some samples, let me tease it out, let me just this, that, and the other, get everything together. I didn't know about sizing, I didn't know about materials, I didn't know about anything, but I just did it. And then now, year 2, which I'm in right now, I've seen so many great things happen with taking a leap of faith and leaning into my gift, bro. So I'm appreciative.
I just want to say I'm super proud of that, bro. Like, because again, like I said, I'm an individual who look at you and really study the way you really came in. You know, you in your second year now, and to really see you take it by storm, it's crazy. And you spoke about those first 2 samples, and you said one of those colors was burgundy. It's crazy because I purchased, one of the burgundy hoodies, and it's like, to be able to kind of say that I represent, what you got going on, I think that's an honor. And, let's kind of tie that into, and we kind of gonna wrap it up shortly, but, you have the clothing brand, and, of course, you have Billionaire Academy. Let's talk a little bit about now, outside of all of this that you got going on, you're very big on, community work, man. You talk a lot about, what you want to do for the youth, what you want to do for the community, because you see the shift that's happening right now. Like, the shift is not the same. Us growing up, it was completely different, right? We was a lot safer. We was, doing, playing sports. We had a lot of things that were different from today's generation. So for you, a Billionaire Academy, not only are you trying to, obviously have fashion and kind of influence the, the youth and kind of speak positivity, but you want to kind of get the youth back into position to take over and have them see their gift as you saw yours. So if you can, kind of talk about some of the things you are inspired to do for the youth, or like, what are some of the things you kind of want to, put forth, for that community?
Now, and I'm gonna speak into existence, honestly, bro. Like, for me right now, number one, as I want youths to understand that their gifts could be something to really shift and change the world, right? And don't downplay their gifts. Like, I speak to even college students today, and they're like, I got a little business. It's nothing little about your business. It's nothing little about your idea. So I want them to understand that it's so much impact that you have in just the thought of doing it, right? And then I want to help them translate that in order to actually put action behind it, right? And to build on it and educate them how to do so. Because you got a kid, for example, that wants to create, let's just say if it's different, like, how right now we have like the different reusable straws, paper straws, all that, like, environmental friendly. And you might have kids that want to do more things that's environmental friendly, but they don't know how to do so, right? And then giving them the resources to say, hey, this is how you do it. This is how you navigate it. This is how you get grants and funding and everything else, right? This is how you develop a business plan and teach them at a young age. This is how you pitch an idea, right? So I think the start for me is to help young children create an idea and then put action behind it. Next is be able to educate the parents, because that's one of the biggest things too, is a lot of times the kids are as great as if their parents understand and know the resources that are out there and readily available for them. So around Billionaire Academies, to be able to invest in not just the children, but invest in their parents and understand the knowledge and the information out there that we want to make easily and readily accessible for them.
I love it, bro.
The shift, though, when it comes to the fashion standpoint, is honestly the confidence that we want to build in kids, right? You don't have to be dressing like the little babies, you're the favorite rapper, the Nicki Minaj's, to whatever. I want every young child to understand, be authentically yourself. The way that you wear your sneakers, the way that you wear your clothes, the way that you wear your hair, be proud of that. And I want to help young children build up the confidence to stand in with what they truly believe, how they want to dress, how they want to feel, how they want to express themselves, because that's an art, right? That's an expression, and we have shifted away from the true meaning of what expression means and what it looks like. And I'm not going to go too far into that topic, but we want to show children, don't worry about what is on TV, don't worry about what you see on social media, stand behind what you feel and what you believe, and then give them that confidence. And that's representing and giving them clothes, giving them different resources, giving them sneakers, giving them backpacks, that in a success kit, like all of these resources that we didn't have growing up, bro, is I want to give to these young kids today, because they're super, super important to me. And then one of the last things is the importance of mental health. Amazing. A lot of kids are going through so many things mentally right now, and they need a culture of care. They need people, friends, teachers, educators to ask them, how are you doing? To learn how to verbalize. Like, it should be okay for a child to say, I'm mad, I'm sad, I'm upset, I'm livid, like all those things, like to learn how to express how they feel and then why. Like, why are you mad? I'm mad because this, and not downplay it, but actively listen to them and say, hey, this is what you can do about it if this ever happens again. Like, give these kids that empowerment, because again, that's gonna shift the whole generation, bro.
Word up. Now, you definitely giving game, and this is probably the last question, really. And I like asking this because, you know, again, the things that you've learned and you've endured throughout your life. So looking back at the young Kimani and looking at where you are today, right? You know, what is one thing that you would tell, 10-year-old Kimani based on what you've learned, up until this point? So if you could look back a couple years ago, not a couple, but years ago. Right? What would you tell your younger self, right? Like, what are some of the things that you would definitely tell your younger self, to kind of let them know what to be prepared for?
10 years old me, or just my younger self in general, man? I think for me, and it's something I'm still trying to get to, and I'm working toward that now, bro, is like, yo, go harder. When you think you did enough, you sure as hell didn't. Like, go harder, because when it came to sports, I feel like, again, like I mentioned earlier, I did what was expected.
Yeah.
Like, if you told me to run 10 miles, I'd probably run 10 miles, but could I run 15? Right? And go for that 15 instead of the 10. If I was told to lift 10 reps or whatever case may be, nah, bro, do 15, right? So I think what I'll tell my younger self is the extra is what matters the most.
Yeah.
Go the extra mile, lift the extra weight, treat people with extra love, like do the extra things, because that's gonna take you to a whole nother level when time comes on, bro. And I had nobody push me for that. Like, I had nobody tell me, like, go the extra, like, you heard them say go the extra mile, but you didn't really understand or comprehend what that meant. Going the extra mile is when you think your tank is empty.
Yeah.
You got more to give. When you feel like you can't lift one more time, bro, you trust me, you got one more, two more, actually three more in you, and how to hit that extra note. And to go again harder with yourself, not needing instruction, not needing motivation, not needing inspiration for anybody else, just going harder. And I could definitely say I do have that mentality, but if I had that younger, oh man. But I realized too, it's okay that I didn't have that younger, because it's okay to be a child. It's okay to learn. It's okay to not have these experiences yet. It's okay to gain that wisdom over time, because if I arrived and I knew everything as a kid, who knows where I would be right now. So I'm glad I had the progression. I'm glad I had the experiences, and I'm glad I'm able to take this information, share this knowledge, and give to the next person. So, bro, I'm happy to be on your podcast. I'm happy to be able to share information. I'm happy to even come back again. And then I hope anybody else listening to this, I love y'all. I rock with y'all, from a stranger, from all the way to New Mexico to all the way in damn New Zealand. It don't matter. Like, I got love for y'all, and I just hope that I can send some positive vibes, some love your way, and I'm praying for everybody, because I've realized too in this life, a lot of times, bro, we just need prayer. Yeah. We need help. We need hope to get to the point, to that success that we want. So, yeah.
Word up. Man, I appreciate you, bro, for taking time out to out of your busy schedule to come show love.
No doubt, bro.
Again, we got Kimani Robinson, that showed up on the scene. Real quick, bro, tell them, how can they stay in contact with you? Let them know your Instagram or like your socials. How can they stay connected to the brand, to Kimani?
Yes, sir. So, Kimani Robinson, on a professional tip, hit me up on LinkedIn. You know what I'm saying? On a personal and business tip, I do have my website, which is a one-stop shop for everything, which is billionarelessons.co. It's spelled Billionaire, Billionare lessons.co. And then Billionaire_lifestyle is my Instagram. Billionaire Lessons_ is my business page. And then that's where you can shop. That's where you can listen to the podcast. That's where you can do everything. And I'm also on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, everything when it comes to my podcast, Billionaire Lessons. Or again, you can type in my name. And honestly, you could Google me and find everything. Kimani Robinson.
Word up. Make sure y'all tune in, man. Everything is gonna be in the, the details, the links to stay connected to Kimani Robinson. Appreciate you for coming on the episode, bro.
No doubt, bro.
Love always. Episode 5 coming very soon. See y'all soon, man. Peace.
Yeah. So he hit me. Fashion. Yeah, he's a fashion consultant, and he's a fashion consultant. and stylist. And he works with a lot of like NFL players specifically. Feel me? And he hit me up not too long ago and he was like, yo,